The #1 selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
You are entering the Stone Zone, and joining me now is General Michael Flynn. He, of course, served as National Security Advisor to the 45th President, Donald Trump. He is not only one of the country's leading geopolitical thinkers, he's also one of the finest Christian gentlemen and leaders it's ever been my privilege to know. General Flynn, welcome to the Stone Zone. I want to get your take on these stunning developments in Iran.
Yeah, Roger, thank you very much for having me and for just your life of incredible service to this country. And I know that you're continuing to do that. So, for your audience, this is stunning developments, particularly what's happening right now. The time zone, so everybody understands, in the United States, the Eastern Standard Time, Iran is about 8 hours ahead. Israel is about 6 hours ahead, give or take. And so it's in the late evening or early morning hours right now, and Israel, as I speak to you at this moment, Israel has had somewhere upwards of about 150 to 200 ballistic missiles fired at it in the last several hours, probably in the last 6 to 8 hours, 150 to 200. Some of them are being engaged by the Iron Dome system that protects Israel. Some of them are being engaged by aircraft. And I have to believe, because the United States, have positioned a very sophisticated missile frigate, counter-missile frigate in the Eastern Mediterranean. We might even be providing some intelligence, or maybe even some defensive capability. So that's the current here and now, last 6 to 8 hours. In the last 48 hours, the initial attack by Israel against nuclear targets in Iran, because it was clear that Iran has in fact developed the capability, and they were days away from matching matching up the capabilities for a nuclear device, a nuclear weapon, and weaponizing the uranium that they have been enriching for the better part of 10 years, and trying to get away with it, and lying the entire time. The Iranians have been lying the entire time they've been negotiating the Iranian JCPOA deal for the last 10 years, right? They've been lying through their teeth. So Israel made a very sophisticated decision, very conscious decision, and very strategic decision to basically eliminate Iran's nuclear capability. In order to do that, Israel has to have endeavored to take on what I believe is a multi-layered campaign, a very offensive campaign, and a multi-day campaign. This campaign is probably going to last a couple of weeks because of the destruction that is going to be required. So the Iranian military can no longer, and political leadership can no longer have the command and control, the intelligence capability, the air defense capability, all of what we call battlefield operating systems that are necessary for a nation state to be able to have a functioning military, and clearly to completely destroy the Iranian capability to have any type of nuclear weapons. So that began almost 48 hours ago, and they have done at least 2 days of attacks against Iran. This counterattack that's occurring now was clearly something that the Netanyahu government did plan for. I 100% sit here talking to your audience today. I guarantee that they planned for this counterattack at probably a scale like this. Now, I also understand that the Houthi rebels down in Yemen have also fired some missiles, but what is up in the air right now, so just to give people a picture, particularly those that are listening on radio, in the Middle East region, you have Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, you've got Iraq, Iran, the UAE, you've got all these different countries. If you can think about it as a map, Turkey, all of those nations right now have put up in the air massive amounts of their own aircraft to be able to provide protection and security along their borders, because they knew and they were warned that the Iranians were going to launch a massive missile strike. Those missiles, some of them are in fact having some success getting through the Iranian or the Israeli Iron Dome system, which is this protective system over Israel, much to what Donald Trump is trying to develop here in our country, called the Golden Dome, something akin to it. They have had some success breaking through that umbrella of air defense capability. So they've targeted essentially like the Israeli version of our Pentagon. So that's been struck. There are now reports of at least one, if not two, of the nuclear sites, the known nuclear sites of Israel have been hit. The level of devastation is much less than when you think about a ballistic missile coming in. You know, it rains terror for sure, but the level of devastation is not as bad as you would imagine. So the Israelis are very, very prepared for this. Their ability to hunker down in very hardened bunker systems, and I'm talking about the entire population, is a very sophisticated capability, and the level of surprise wasn't there. Bibi Netanyahu 2 nights ago put out a warning to all the citizens of Israel. There have been some people that were in fact evacuated from Israel, and so Israel has been preparing for this for a long time. Their strategic patience to wait until this moment is incredible, because they basically gave, along with President Trump, they gave Iran as much a chance as they could possibly have to have a deal, not to have any kind of nuclear weapon system, and not to have this level of attack. Right up until as Trump put out here recently, they gave him, Trump's warning was, look, we're going to work this for 60 days. And if you guys can't come to some sort of agreement in 60 days, then what will come is something that could easily get out of control. And that's my concern right now as I sit here talking to you, Roger, with your audience. I am concerned because war is something that once it takes on a life of its own, it really can get out of control. So this ballistic missile attack by the Iranians, I feel and I believe, that the Iranians do not have the capacity to continue this level of attack for too many days. My thinking is that they probably have a couple of days where, they can fire, some number of missiles, but they're going to run out at a certain point in time. And what the Israelis are continuing to do is they're continuing to pound, the living, out of multiple targets in Iran. And they started with the most difficult, the most hardened first, which was smart. They went after the surface to air. They went after the headquarters. They went after the intelligence. They went after the command and control. They went after the nuclear sites. Now, Israel's plan will likely go after more tactical sites like these ballistic missile firing locations, more barracks locations where some of the Iranian Guards, Quds Force Army elements will be stationed. So Israel started with very strategic, high-end targets, and they are now going to tick down the list, and they're going to go after less and less strategic targets and more tactical targets to completely destroy Iran's military-industrial complex capability. The response or the reaction that Iran is demonstrating right now is something that is no surprise, was something that Israelis have planned for. Some of this stuff is going to get through because you just can't stop it all. There's just so much terror raining down. I did get reports of some casualties in Israel. The numbers aren't extreme. One Israeli killed is too many, but whereas on the other side, on the Iranian side, the numbers are actually minimal. I mean, they're very minimal because of the precision that the Israelis are using. So one of the things that is very clear, and I've seen some video, the Israelis have, I call it exquisite intelligence, bulletproof intelligence assets on the ground in military resources and other intelligence, human intelligence collection capabilities that are providing precision targeting to basically take out the leadership, right? I mean, they are killing the general staff, like the chiefs of staff, the commander, whereas like their chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as an example, they're on their second one already, and more than likely that individual is going to have to go into hiding and not be as effective. Khamenei, the current leader of Iran, the Ayatollah, right? I mean, this guy has got to be at the top of the list because he is part of the problem. He is a wartime leader and he is a tyrant. Sadly, the people of Iran do not, they are feeling the heat of this, where the people of Israel are 100% behind the state of Israel. The people of Iran are not behind their regime. And in fact, I'll finish this part on this. What I learned today was that the Iranian regime is targeting their own citizens, arresting them, shooting them. If they catch any of them taking any kind of video or doing, even on phones, they are conducting, this is Iran now, they are conducting cyber attacks against their own citizens to keep their citizens from being able to communicate on a global scale because, the internet these days, the way that we can communicate, the way we can get communications out. So the Iranian regime is actually targeting its own citizens. And yet, even with that, brave Iranian people are getting the word out. And it's become more and more difficult because the Iranian regime is targeting their own damn citizens. That shows you the level of tyranny that these people are under. So my prayer is that somebody in the Iranian population is ready to rise out of the ashes, so to speak. And once this devastating series of attacks continues, and it's going to continue by Israel, once it takes its toll on the leadership. What I am hoping for is that the people of Iran rise up. It's going to require sacrifice. It's going to take a sacrifice, and it's going to mean sacrifice. Freedom is not free. It is not fair. It is not, it's something that must be sacrificed for. So that's my hope. That's my prayer in the coming days and weeks here. And I want the people of Iran to know that the Israelis are not going to give up. The United States of America is not. We are not directly involved right now, but we will be the biggest champions for a free Iran if, in fact, that's what the people of Iran want to do.
Yeah, I met several days ago with leaders of the Iranian resistance. They are more extensive than you would think. They are brutally suppressed, but there is unrest in Iran because the $190 billion that we unfroze and gave them under Joe Biden was not used to bring down food prices. It was used for armaments and to continue their nuclear weapons development project. Those who think there is no alternative to the regime in Iran are incorrect. If you're just tuning in, folks, we're listening to General Michael Flynn, served as National Security Advisor to President Donald Trump, best-selling author, and one of the great geopolitical thinkers of our time. We're going to be right back with just a few more minutes with General Flynn to get all of his insights on these stunning developments in which Israel, going it alone, but clearly in coordination with the United States, has kept to the idea that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. We'll be right back.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone. This is the Stone Zone. Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. I'm talking to General Michael Flynn, who served this country for 33 years in the American military and served, of course, as National Security Advisor to President Donald Trump, a best-selling author and the most loyal friend that a man can have. General Flynn, we're talking about the situation where Israel has decided to launch an attack on Iran. Do you foresee this becoming more than a regional conflict? In other words, do you think other countries will be drawn into this?
Well, first of all, other countries are already drawn in because we have air forces from all of the regional nations, from Turkey all the way down to Saudi Arabia, and all the Southwest Asian countries are right now are they have their militaries on high alert. The wider scope of this war is going to be irregular, and I think that what we could experience here in America, because Europe's got its own problems everywhere. They've got their own issues with Hamas and Hezbollah and these surrogate Iranian groups. But here in the United States of America, we've had Hezbollah and Hamas operating for the better part of 2 decades. And they're very strong. And we see that on the various street protests that we've seen, recently as, out in L.A., but over this past year with all these Palestinian protests, right? These are surrogates of the Iranian regime. That's who is behind them. Along with elements that we now know that were financed by organizations like USAID. So we could see some irregular type of operations here in the United States of America, things from derailing of trains, bombings, suicide bombings. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of irregular attacks that could occur that are just disruptive, and they terrorize the population. Iran is going to have to make a decision. The Iranian regime is going to have to make a very difficult decision, for the Ayatollah. And I hope the Ayatollah listens to the Stone Zone. Because if the Ayatollah is listening to the Stone Zone, his days are numbered. And if he doesn't decide as a human being, never mind being the psychopath that they demonstrate themselves to be when they talk about annihilating entire nation states off the planet with nuclear capabilities like Israel or the United States of America, which those are things that he has said. These are people now that are in a place where they're going to have to make some very serious decisions, because otherwise their days are numbered. So what I want the audience to understand is that what's happening on the streets of America, they are directly related to these subversive elements from the Iranian regime, and the Iranian regime is in an alliance with China, with Venezuela, this Tren de Agua, which is out of Venezuela, that's up that we've heard so much about. This group gets training. They get training folks by the Iranian special forces. They have come into Caracas, Venezuela over the last 10 years and trained this organization. So these are the types of things that we could see that turn this from a regional conflict into a global conflict. And this is where I'm grateful that President Trump is in the White House, because of all of the noise that will circle around him over the last few days and over the coming days, he will have a learned, experienced, steady hand on the tiller here, so to speak. And I think we are all blessed to have him in that role. Imagine if we were in a different place today in this country. Oh my God, I don't want to imagine it. It's the unthinkable. So we're lucky to have a strong leader in the White House who's making very smart decisions right now.
All right, I want to thank our guest, General Michael Flynn. His new book, by the way, Pardon of Innocence, can be pre-ordered right now on Amazon. General Flynn, thanks for joining us in the Stone Zone.